Second take.
Second take.
Hallå, hallå. Funkar det? Lite högre. Ja, välkomna till Pilsnerpoesi i Söderköping på Söderköpings första poesifestival. Och Pilsnerpoesi är ett koncept vi fick till Tranås 2014 och då hette det i Wales Poems and Pints, fast vi döpte om det till Pilsnerpoesi. Och nu har detta Pilsnerpoesi-koncept kommit till Söderköping. Och det är, man får bara köra 3 minuter på sin diktläsning och sen får man ny läsa. Och vi kommer börja med den internationella biten via Zoom. Där vi har poeter från Wales, Colombia, Indien, Irland och Kanada. Och han som kommer hålla i från Wales, Dominic Williams som sitter i Ferryside i Carmarthenshire, Wales, som kommer sköta den internationella biten som kommer att börja. Ordet är ditt. Word is your, Dominic.
Tack så mycket. Thank you, Magnus. It's very good to hear from you. Welcome to Söderköping, or should I say welcome to Wales, those of you who are in Söderköping. I'm joining you from Ferryside, as Magnus just mentioned, and I'm joined in Zoomland by many poetic friends from around the world, from other friends from Wales, from Sweden, from Canada, from Ireland, and Nate. But to start with, we will certainly go to probably our farthest flung poetic participant this evening, and I'd like to ask Pankuri, who is in Delhi, to unmute herself and read for us, please.
Oh my God, good evening to everybody. I'm going to be the first one. Wow, what a pleasure and honor. And what a pleasure and honor to be here and to be reading. So after a lot of debating, I chose a poem on China that I wrote for the city of Yan'an. This was as a part of competition. It's called Yan'an, the City of Wonders. Since the very beginning was the Wang Ho, flowing melodiously in our imaginations, the coastline of one of the earliest river valley civilizations, the first Chinese river I studied about in my school textbook. Google pictures were to come late, but when they did, they opened the world like a garden before day's dies. Perhaps like the Garden of Eden, the serpentine curve of the Wang Ho shimmered like a yellow star, or crimson, or that hue between pink and orange that changes shade every minute. Blood red, flame color, glittered the water, ochre was the soil around the kaleidoscope, so complete. But that's just the beginning of the magic, a gigantic river carrying desert silt, twisted, turned, changed its course in our dreams. In our dreams did we set sail towards the fabled land of the Great Wall, remembering the King and the Ming dynasties, of the land of the Panda, where Nehru had set the dove free. But cities had sprawled around the same riverbed that sculpted islands for swimmers, mountains for trekkers, and Yan'an, the town of legends, stood out. The long march had ended here, and here a nation had re envisioned its unity, its progress, its treaties. Here a red flag flown in might, and declared was the town the communist headquarter. We watched in awe as the neighbor deer achieved revolutions one after the other, feeding all and controlling its population, as the Chinese population sung well rehearsed tunes of pride, and a green spring blossomed in. Flowers of unimaginable colors, Pictures of Yannan's skyline flooded the internet signals of the post-Cold War era, making us smile and ask, what's it called? What's it called, this flower and that? Name, please, yes, of the monastery too, the lovely facade of which has me enraptured. As we go gaga over Murakami and fondly remember Liu Xiaobo, who broke modern records to win a Nobel in prison, the city center of Yan'an calls us back to tell us how they controlled Corona. May we emulate, win, and survive, and oh, my friends, soon open the skies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pankuri. It was wonderful to hear a poem that starts with the river. And I know the rivers for you in India and for so many of us who are a lot closer to water than you often are. They become very, very important emblems in our poetry. But particularly today, as I look at the scene, I can't see it now. It's got dark there in Sweden. But if you look past that TV camera out, there's a boat on the river there just outside the cafe. And I've been looking at that all afternoon. Okay, I'd like to come back to Wales now. I think that's come back to Wales for me, who is of course in Wales, but another international guest for those in Soda Sherping. And I'd like to ask Steve if you would read something for us, please.
Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, good. I've written a poem in Welsh, so I'll say it in Welsh first and then English. And this poem is called Rydw i'n Cymraeg, I am Welsh. Cefais fy ngeni o'r wlad hon. Roedd fy nywerddiau Celtydd yn gorwydd yn gatran, ymeriad hanes. Ymladodd fy henhefiad lawer o frwydio'r dros heddwch, dros teulu ac ymgariad i'w gwlad rydym yn galw Cymru. Heddw, do'n dal i gario fflamau o berthan, mae bobl y wlad hon yn amladd am y hyneraeth. Mae'n nhw'n gwybod gwir, ystyr, diwylliant cyfryddog sy'n bwydio'r uned a chan a bardoniaeth. Mae'r Cymru yn angedd dwfn yn gryf. Rydyn ni'n wedi benethio a straeon llyn. Gwiran sy'n gynhyfar dychymag yn atgofo genhododd erach nad ydyn ni'n fach, nad ydyn ni'n ofon i siarad o galon. Bydd gan bobl plentyn a anodd yn y wlad hon i straeon i hun i hadrodd. Bydd Cymru yn gael i siapio eto gyda thodau wagio i bydd dergelion y bwstfel goch yn adlan tân newydd. I shall say the English version of that. I am Welsh. I was born of this land. My Celtic roots lay firmly within the soils of history. My ancestors fought many battles for peace, for family, and for the love of their country we call Wales. Today, I still carry the flames of belonging. People of this land fight for their identity. They know the true meaning of rich culture that feeds the soul with song and poetry. The Welsh are deep. Passion is strong. We are blessed with folklore, stories that intrigue the imagination, a reminder to other nations that we are not small. We are not afraid to speak from the heart. Every child born in this land will have their own stories to tell. Cymru will be shaped again with wagging tongues, and the mysteries of the red beast will breathe new fire. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Steve. Da iawn. Diolch yn fawr iawn I ti. Wonderful to hear the poem in Welsh. Even for us here in Wales, we don't hear enough of our own language. English is so strong in this country, but I hope it was something that you enjoyed hearing there in Sweden hearing Steve in his native Welsh and reading his poetry this evening, even though he is self-isolating with his positive COVID test. So he's not looking his best. Honestly, he looks a lot better than that usually. Okay, I'm going to go from Steve's Celtic journeys across to another Celtic friend, and I'd like to ask Deirdre to join us from Ireland and read something for us, please.
Thanks, Dom. I really wondered about what to read tonight and whether to read something in Irish or not, but I'm actually going to read one in English. I don't have one recently written for Afghanistan, but this one written during the bombardment of Palestinian communities. I think it's just the same energy of humanity has to basically try and be more humane. So it's called The Nightmare Before Sunrise. I wake from my nightmare. It is 5 a.m. In half an hour, the sun will come up, filled with birdsong and the promise of a new day. Beside me, my other half sleeps, his kind, gentle face relaxed, not contorted in pain as a boot crushes him before the brutal IDF soldiers carry him away. In their rooms, the adult children sleep. The others away in Kinsale, sleeping too. Even those I didn't get to keep or to mother, safe in Australia and America. They got to make it to adulthood. Unlike in the horror of my dream, dragged away as small children, crying, reaching out to me as the oppressors, deaf to my pleas and theirs, place their little hands in handcuffs and drag them away in terror. My house is still standing. We are not buried in the rubble with all our neighbours after bombardment by the mighty military machine of an apartheid terrorist state. My house is still our home. No colonising settlers, believing they have a God-given right to steal it, to force us out with nowhere to go. The sun rises, the birds sing. All is right with my world, but not with the world. Therefore not with mine. An injury to one is an injury to all. For the people of Gaza, there is no waking from the endless recurring nightmare. For many, there is no waking at all. What sights and sounds will be revealed by tomorrow's sunrise? The beloved dead, the maimed and injured, mourning, grieving, the crying of mothers, the orphaning of children. The sun rises. I sing. From the rivers to the sea, Palestine will be free if it survives. I wake from the nightmare. Gaza wakes, if it slept at all, into the nightmare. The sun rises. It is morning. Will the world wake before it is too late? Thank you.
Thank you, Dee. It was a wonderful juxtaposition of the personal and the universal, or not so much the universal. I mean, they were very specific themes in the world, but that balance, that disharmony between your own personal life and the what's happening in society, or even beyond your own society around the world. I'd like to read a little poem of mine now that kind of marries some of those things that I've spoken about with Deirdre and with Steve. I mean, Steve was talking very much about his passion for Wales and Welsh poetry. Dee talking about her personal situation and a universal situation. So I guess I'm going to talk about Wales. I'm going to talk about my personal landscape or seascape, as Dee spoke. But this is very much a particular part of Wales. This is about the marshes, just less than half a mile from my house. There have been years since I stepping stone slipped on these stilted clumps. Our later walks were smooth, sanded, paralleled with unseen, unheard, and explored estuary edge. But before, as I trod with care, he would bound with disregard, seeking flight to spoil the mocking waltz of waders and siren of maddening seafowl. I would laugh as flightless expectation splashed into deep tide-whittled trenches. Dust settles today in this ditch, waiting for the journey of the turn, but first to be carried lighter than the feather for the last time over his haunting, hunting marsh. That was for Max. Okay, I'd like to go to our friend in Canada now and ask Calvin if he'd like to unmute himself and read something, please.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for including me in your evening of poetry in Sweden. And there's been a couple of poems with water themes, or at least some elements of water. And my poem will be like that too, because I'm here on the west coast of Canada, where in British Columbia, the province I live in, this summer, we've had so many wildfires. 850,000 hectares of land have been burned. And even though this is a temperate rainforest, we've had almost no measurable rain for 2 months. So climate change is doing its best to take care of us in the wrong way. And we're praying for rain here. So this poem is called The Waters. If water has memory, it must recall the good as well as the bad it has washed over or away. Unlike people, water never thinks that everything is about its idea of itself, doesn't imagine being at the center of everything, though clearly on this planet it is. Water may change its mood, turn to ice or steam, or take a variety of names, agua, o, vatten, shui, but remains the same fluid thread winding through every living thing, knotting or releasing the facts of the matter. In the news, water plays one of two roles. Either there's too much or not enough. Drought withholds sky's gift of rain, and sun inhales whole lakes, rivers, leaves the earth a splintered landscape with an arid wish for moisture. Ice storms attack the east coast, pull down power lines, snap branches from boulevard trees. Then the many frozen rivers break up in early spring thaw, dragging together twisted snags of debris into immovable tangles, giant heron nests of implacability. And now it's back to liquid concerns, water spilling out across lowlands, invading homes and gardens, streets navigable by canoe or kayak, damage immeasurable, and the weeping former residents captured for our sympathy by the camera's lens. Water is prayer, spills from Buddha's bowl, splashes across a baby's forehead, carries Moses to safety with the Pharaoh's daughter, sweeps ashes from Varanasi funeral pyres out to the Bay of Bengal, surrounds Amritsar's golden temple. If you like, you can follow a 6-step recipe on WikiHow for do-it-yourself holy water to bless your home and family. Or maybe simply accept the elemental truth that you are at the mercy of water, awash in its grace, or praying for its liquid benevolence, its kind hand to wave you gently down the stream. Thank you.
Fjärilarna. Våga ta för det på scenen kan vara svårt. Göra något för första gången kan vara svårt. Vi får fjärilar i magen när vi ska våga. Gör någonting för första gången. Det vi är nervösa. När det gäller levererar vi. Ska vi ta första steget på denna väg? Det är min första dikt. Min andra dikt. Superkrafter. Vi alla är superhjältar på vårt egna sätt. Någon ser upp till oss. Stor som liten. Vi har våra styrkor. Vi har också våra svagheter. Det gör oss till vilka vi är. Det gör till vilka vi är. Vi är det ska inte ändra på. Annars kan du inte vara du. Annars kan jag inte vara jag.
Tack Beatrice. Vi är alla lite nervösa till mans här tror jag. Och vi är alla lite nervösa till mans tror jag. Lagom. Bra. Och nästa ska vi ta upp, vill ha Marianne Wik. Välkommen till scenen. Den är din.
Men kan man ändra den här? Ja, jag kommer också från Sankt Anna som den första poeten här. Jag är född i Torrensborg och eftersom jag bor i Söderköping och har varit Östergötland trogen, så då tänker jag läsa en dikt på östgötska. Och jag kallar den för Östgötsk kärleksvisa. Vi skulle gå där en med stranna och du skulle hålla mig Hanna och skvalpe det skulle vågra göra och i trätoppa skulle en fågla höra. Och sola hon skulle skina så gott och glittra på havet så bra. Och vet som där ska du pussa mig hårt. Gå där och krama och pussa varar. Tills det knappt några puss och kramer finns kvar. När vi sen framåt kvällen alla stjärnorna ser och gubben i månen som sitter och ler. Då är vi så trötta. Vi gapgriner åt allt och dricker utav sjön fast vattnet är salt. Kan du tänka dig till och fortsätta hålla mig Hanna? Så kan vi väl hålls där hela natta på stranden. Och skvalpe ska våga göra. Och dina kärleksord vill jag höra. Till sola hon skiner igen. På mig och dig, du min närmaste vän. Tack så mycket. Är det någon stycken imorgon så har rubriken Ärogarsken.
Tack Marianne, det var trevligt att höra östgötska. Jag har inte hört så jag läste Theodor Snarap från Ydre. Och nu ska vi tydligen återgå till Zoom-grejen och det är Calvin Wharton från västra Kanada.
Okay, as I said, I'm here on the west coast of Canada where we've had quite a few wildfires, over 850,000 hectares of land burned by fire this summer, and very little measurable rain, even though I live in a temperate rainforest for the last couple months, very little measurable rain. So this poem will hopefully invoke some more rain. It's called The Waters. If water has memory, it must recall the good as well as the bad it has washed over or away. Unlike people, water never thinks that everything is about its idea of itself, doesn't imagine being at the center of everything, though clearly on this planet it is. Water may change its mood, turn to ice or steam, or take a variety of names, agua, o, vatan, shui, but remains the same fluid thread winding through every living thing, knotting or releasing the facts of the matter. In the news, water plays one of two roles. Either there's too much or not enough. Drought withholds sky's gift of rain, and sun inhales whole lakes, rivers, leaves the earth a splintered landscape with an arid wish for moisture. Ice storms attack the east coast, pull down power lines, snap branches from boulevard trees. Then the many frozen rivers break up in early spring thaw, dragging together twisted snags of debris into immovable tangles, giant heron nests of implacability. And now it's back to liquid concerns, water spilling out across lowlands, invading homes and gardens, streets navigable by canoe or kayak, damage immeasurable, and the weeping former residents captured for our sympathy by the camera's lens. Water is prayer, spills from Buddha's bowl, splashes across a baby's forehead, carries Moses to safety with the Pharaoh's daughter, sweeps ashes from Varanasi funeral pyres out to the Bay of Bengal, surrounds Amritsar's golden temple. If you like, you can follow a 6-step recipe on WikiHow for do-it-yourself holy water to bless your home and family, or maybe simply accept the elemental truth that you are at the mercy of water, awash in its grace, or praying for its liquid benevolence, its kind hand to wave you gently down the stream. Thank you.
So Dominic, if you continue.
Okay, thank you very much, Colin. Then I'll take the reins back to Zoomland. And I'd like to thank Calvin for his poem once again. That's two of us who have given our renditions twice this evening in the digital world. Meanwhile, I'll come back to somebody much closer to me, not that close, but not far across the water, the small water from me at the moment, and ask Charlotte if she'd like to read, please.
Hello. I am quite close to Dom geographically, but not at the moment because I'm actually visiting my mum up in Yorkshire. So I come to you from the north of England. And I also read a poem about water, but it's not by me. I've chosen to read by somebody else, if that's okay, by the poet laureate Simon Armitage. And just up on the moorland above the town where I am in Ilkley, there's a stone, and it's part of the Stanza Stones Trail. And it's this one is called the Beck Stone, and it's situated in the Beck, the water coming down. And it's a celebration of water. So this is Beck by Simon Armitage. It is all one chase, trace it back. The source might be nothing more than a teardrop squeezed from a curlew's eye. then follow it down to the full-throated roar at its mouth. A dipper strolls the river dressed for dinner in a white bib. The unbroken thread of the beck with its nose for the sea, all flux and flex, soft soaping a pebble for thousands of years. Or here, after hard rain, soaring the hillside in half with its chain. Or here, where water and binds and hangs at the waterfall's face, and just for that one stretched white moment becomes lace. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Maybe it's because we're so far away from our friends in Sweden that we're all reading these poems about water this evening. So what we had this evening from there was the British Poet Laureate, Simon Armitage, from the north of England, his words read by our own Poet Laureate of Llanstefan, who herself is in the north of England at the moment, and I must say has the finest internet reception that I've ever seen her with. It's so much better than living in a rural Welsh village. So thank you so much for sharing us this evening, Charlotte. I'd like to go now over to a little further away, and let's go to Colombia and ask George if he'd like to read for us.
Right. Let's continue along the path of water. This is for Calvin. I have many friends in the Northwest, and what they've gone through with those fires and that terrible situation. I'll have Calvin know that the last 2 times that I have appeared in public, once reading and once in a concert, I was visited by torrential rains. The first time, it actually knocked out the power in the village where I was reading for a day and a half. And recently, I was in a concert at an amphitheater, and the band that came after us had to stop for about a half an hour until the rain abated a bit. So maybe, perhaps, let's hope, water is on the way. So in this spirit, I'm going to read what comes after water, garden. And then I'm going to read you a garden triptych. And it's about taking care of that which we have inherited and what we can do about these things. Garden triptych. We awaken to tend to it. To tend is to care for. To care for is to lavish attention on something and respond subtly to help it restore itself. Subtle gestures clear a space for light, air, water, and greening. Are there birds here yet? Will they be ready to go on? Are the bees ready to buzz forth? Can the worms rest now? Is it time to begin folding up the clouds? Has the chill received permission to slip back into the deep earth? Roots have knelt, immersing, bent humble in inevitable extension, in unseen continuing, to situate, to ford the current of weight, pressing as it passes, burdening under, holding down the hand of reach. Bird with filaments at knuckle and tip, burrowing, now no longer burlapped, but burst shining down darker to grasp wet nourishment. How to prepare an arm to bloom. First, the hand must open to the coming green pulse, lightning down the crook like fire. Next, the sunwarding of each joint's gyre, digit must twig and unclench, limb must branch and unbend, forking forth multiple, knotted with buds toward nether transfoliations and flowerings. The specter of spring, where the petal tinges the tip of the bud still sealed, jeweled sunlets fluttered, falling is the tint and touch of childishness in the murk of memory. A ghostly presence delicately blurs the outlines of 4 or 5 words like a meander in relief upon the darkness. We strain to distinguish the luster of distant laughter blooming. 2. As translucent as the webbing of a duck's foot, just so the dragonfly altarpiece, a membrane illumined by elsewhere's glow that brims and glares, is only fit to lid by vining, and so embraces. This ornament is an abrasion, encircling flares of lit hatching that once again traverse it like a fisher's net through water. What of this weedy emanation that adorns itself with braided stems, viridescent now in summer, as its mossy gems glisten with otherworldly gloss and shimmer? This kneeling place is wet with the possibility of immersion. Like lines of rust upon the air, their bodies emphatically hyphenate the world. Hovering to describe arcs that enclose attention, greening in the supplicant to slip further beneath the surface line. 3. Beneath the swallow-crossed blue vastness, a face floats upon the perpetual undulation. An end to dreaming, children's laughter brings new wakefulness, bronze wings gathering, a girl's hair are the last thing just seen before the inundation. Umbra immersed beyond the possibility of even Giotto's hands navigating the blind maze of clanging corridors that emerged from the carillon in the cranium. This is the moment pooling in the murky droplet, the beating of 100 fish as one, that in a twitch changed direction. This is how things happen, how events enunciate themselves. Tack, tack.
Tack, tack. Tack så mycket, George. Your Swedish is impeccable, sir, as is your shirt, I must say. So it's wonderful. It really is a joy to be sharing these voices from all over the world with you guys there in Söderköping who've been enjoying a festival all day and are now sitting back, sharing your voices with ours and enjoying a good drink, I hope. So we've gone on this watery journey, as you said, George, from water to rain to the garden. I'm going to come back to the Welsh garden of Ceredigion now and ask Jackie to read something for us, please.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I've got loads of poems about water, but I'm not going to read one of those tonight. I'm thinking about, as others who have already read, obviously thinking about I'm with climate crisis tonight. And this is a very new poem that was inspired by some films I watched of quite a lot of Greek people last week or the week before, fleeing the conflagration on their islands and around their homes. So this is burning issues. It's also written with COP26 in mind, which is coming up at the end of October here in UK. Burning issues. See the poor man's cow burn. Hear scorching sheep scream. We watch news films of the world on fire from behind our various screens. All the forest ablaze, trees crackling, bark burning, lumber falling, heat coursing across hills. That could be our Preselles or our Brackens. Our Black Mountains could be blackened. We will him on, that man with the cow. Turn around, turn to home, grab your kids, grab your mama and grandma, leave your photos, all the pictures on the walls, see them burn, see them burn. Run to the sea, run, run, run. Smoke chokes your lungs, sears your throat, inferno follows you, an avalanche of fire down the mountain, closer and closer, rolling and rolling. Turn and turn again. Watch your life burn. Your neighbour's cow is on a rein, her bulging eyes askance. His father has the dog. Dead lizards scatter the path, and a small child carries a tortoise. See people on the shore, friends, cousins, brothers and sisters, and all their children, soot smudged across faces, eyes vacant yet full of fear. Turn, look back. A wall of orange rages closer and closer, rolling smoke wreaths around, blackens your trees, kills your bees, swallows your village. Ash falls like snowflakes, shifting footprints on sand, where sea is grey mud. Turn to the boats, the only way to escape from heat and smoke. Now turn again. Turn again. Look to your governments, those who would let all our futures burn. Let them see your dark, staring eyes, your lost and angry faces, your fear and despair. Hold their gaze. Make them turn to you. Do not let them turn away. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. There were two very, very poignant lines in there for me. Turn again, turn again, turn again. And this could be the Brecon Beacons, because of course, for us in Wales, cofiwch drwerin, we remember the village that was drowned, the valley that was flooded to provide water to an English city. And in the same way, Xanthi has explained to us just in our last poetic meeting, how we are seeing through the lens of the media a climate crisis in Greece. But what has been hidden from us is that these fires, many of these fires, are being started deliberately because German turbines are being planted on Greek soil to provide electricity for Germany. So we remember cofiwch drwerin, and we must get beyond the lens of the media to understand what's really happening in places around the world. Okay, I'm going to stay fairly close to you. I think in Wales, and come somewhere between you are located this evening and where I am located this evening, and ask Dave Irwin if he'd like to unmute himself and read something for us, please.
Hi. I haven't got anything on water or fire, I'm afraid. I'm going to read a poem from my recently launched book, Plain Song from the Back Streets of Silence. And it's a poem that was inspired by the Greek myth of Narcissus. And Narcissus, as you probably all know, saw his own reflection in a pool. There's the water. And fell in love with himself. So this is kind of a modern take on the Narcissus myth. It's called End of a Beautiful Relationship. Neon lit stack of toilet rolls in a darkened hypermarket was the first work of mine to attract popular attention. Before that, no one had seen my genius. Even my early masterpiece, magenta light bulb hanging from a gallows in the Nevada desert, was ignored for far too long. Now, of course, I am the godfather of modern art. Much too late. Lots of young things can't stop loving me. Actors, painters, musicians, dancers. Problem is, they want me to love them back, for Christ's sakes. Sure, we took lots of drugs. Who didn't? I mean, who doesn't, honey? They unscrewed the lid from off of my head to let those serpents crawl inside. They allowed me to smell and taste my own beauty, though even beauty goes out of fashion, God damn it. The 3 movies I directed and starred in, Mirror, Echo, and Chrome, were all lambasted by those crackpot critics. But I watch them at home every day in my plastic purple submarine studio. I live alone now, bathing in the cool of my stone perfection. This is the time to bring it all to an end. Now.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for taking us from your native country to West Wales to the loving yourself of the deep south, a very narcissistic deep south of America. It was a great poem. Thank you, Dave. Always peppered with your humor. And I'm so pleased that we're able to share that with our friends in Soda Chirping this evening. It's been a joy for all of us from around the world, from Wales, from Ireland, from Colombia, from Canada, to share our voices with yours there in Soda Chirping. We all wish really that we were there and that we could be enjoying all the events that you're experiencing during the day. But thank you so much for allowing us to read with you. And now we're going to sit back, mute ourselves, and enjoy hearing the voices live from the hall, bar and kitchen. Thank you so much. Tack så mycket.
Nu är det dags för Ulrika. Och sen är det faktiskt så att jag har listan är lite svårläst, så om jag har missat någon och det är någon mer som vill läsa efter Elias, så får ni gärna höra av er och vinka, så kommer jag. Ja, den försvann. Nej, men den är där borta. Ja. Där. Bra. Och då välkomnar vi på scenen Ulrika.
Ja, hallå. Ska se. Tack. Jag kommer läsa ur ett helt nytt manus. Och jag kommer läsa den inledande delen. Och det är från ett manus som jag kallar för markfysik, sommarregnobservationer, som delvis är tillägnad min farfar som var professor i markfysik. Och där jag läste en text av honom som handlar om, jag tror att han kallar den för observationer över ett sommarregn. Och jag har plockat vissa delar från den texten och gjort det till mitt eget. Och sen har det här utvecklats till en jättelång text. Så det här är första delen och det har blivit säkert uppåt 10 delar. Då ska vi se. Vi sträcker ut oss i gräset. Eller vi sitter ner. Ur marken reser sig gestalter av oanad form. Vrider sig. Omringade av detta som är och svårt att bryta kontakten. Kratrar, visioner, som uppsträckta händer. Det kallas observationer. Denna väta, detta våta regn. Molnens formationer utsträckta över tid och rum. Landskap inuti och utanför. Detta vidsträckta skräckvälde. Andas och blanda. Korten är svåra att tyda. Det är överväldigande. Kom marken. Kom jorden. Omfamna och hänsynslöst. Uppluckrat och det som sedan tar vid. Kapillära system. Värmeströmningar. I relation till varandra. En komplex upprepning och ett sammanhang. Fysikens lagar, bindning, mängd. En utsträckt blomma. Din famn. Famnar djup. Och allt är vidsträckt. Oumbärligt. Kapillära system, vattenmängden, marken både har och inte har. Och som liknar människokroppen. Asfalten doftar, jorden, värmefukten alldeles intill. Det är en trängd situation, liknar temporärt men pågår. Inifrån och ut. Det långsiktiga iakttagandet. Tanken är oändlig, förfärande. Blomma sträcker hals, visar sig. Hals sträcker. Solen, där är den. Kärldjup, åkermarkerna, det som var snötäckt. Att mäta, väga, våga. En gång vattendropparna. Nivåskillnader. Decimaler och tecken för det som betyder sommarregn. Det rumsutfyllande, hur det djupnar. Nästan skräckslaget. Fågel, kvitter, andnöd. Och markblock, block på block. Lager på lager av det vi saknar. Jag såg inte, vi andades inte. Regndroppar. Saknad. Som ett invecklat flätverk. Och våt hud vaknar av ett stilla sommarregn. Nu har jag gått över tiden. Allt upprepar sig. Strålningen, ljusflödet. Inte första gången. Där vi satt och andades igen. Något liknande hade hänt förut. Vätan, det kronologiska är allt. Som inte finns. Vi finns. Bara i tecken av sorg liknar vi varandra. Regn, oupphörligt, växter, enstaka särskilda blommor och äppelträd. Det är inte längre så som vi sa att det var. Kronisk sjukdom, hålrum, fotosyntes. I det vi delar, solljusets energier, vad det gör med oss. i rum, tomrum. Att vi andas. Och nu slutar jag här. För nu. Vänta, det var väldigt kort kvar här. Det var bara några rader. Stillsamma rymd. Kom närmare. Vattendroppars exakthet. Och i skymningen rådjuren som äter tulpanerna. Långsam rörelse. Njutning. Överträdelse. Trampa ner jorden. Tack.
Tack Ulrika, stunning delivery.
Tack så mycket Ulrika. Jag vill inte avbryta dig så vi ville höra alla rader. Och nu har vi dechiffrerat det här blocket och Magnus har hittat ett namn till. Och det är Magnus. Jag vet inte hur det hamnade där plötsligt. Men är det någon mer, det är inte så många kvar här. Är det någon mer som jag har missat vid något bord? Ingen? Va? Sigge? Nej. Så, det är några så. Men då gör vi så här helt enkelt att jag vill tacka er. Och sen så har vi den sista poeten nu då. Ingen mindre än Magnus Gren från Tranås. Välkommen!
Tackar Mats. Jag vill börja med att efterlysa på glasögon som jag har tappat bort. Ingen som har sett dem. Om ni hittar dem, lämna in dem i baren. Den första heter Gubbar med vagn. Ni kanske har sett gubbar som går och hänger på kundvagnarna inne på Lidl och Ica och Ica Maxi och sånt där. Gubbar med vagn. Gubbar med vagn veckohandlar. Gubbar med vagn har kepsen på. Gubbar med vagn ser lätt förvirrade ut. Gubbar med vagn undrar över middagen. Gubbar med vagn är sorgsna. Gubbar med vagn, vad tänker de på? Gubbar med vagn kör hårt och bestämt likt en bil på E4. Gubbar med vagn vill ha öl och chips. Gubbar med vagn tänker på döden. Gubbar med vagn hänger blasé på vagnen. Gubbar med vagn erövrar affären. Gubbar med vagn har trötta ben. Gubbar med vagn undrar vad livet tog vägen. Gubbar med vagn har kvinnor som cirkulerar som satelliter runt om. Nästa heter Jeanne d'Arc bor i Malmö. Jeanne d'Arc bor i Malmö på pastorsexpeditionen. Säger en skäggig man med vilda blå ögon. Hon färdas genom tid och rymd. Har tröttnat på 1400-talet. Handlar på Ica Maxi. Köper blommor på Gustav Adolfs torg. Hon vill inte längre vara ett franskt nationalhelgon. Vill hänga på Mikes bar. Spela biljard. Och slänga bort sin jungfrudom till första bästa. Pastoral Mondrian graffiti. På lantlig elstation. Urban. Pastoral graffiti. Mondrian topografisk elstation. Krösatåget skramlar. Något abstrakt med stil syns vid horisonten. Och den sista heter Söndag morgon. Sväljer den existentiella förkylningen. Inser för ett ögonblick livet är ett fiasko. Juni månad och naturen blir inte vackrare i norra Småland. Tack för mig.
Jeanne d'Arc!
Ni hör Dominic i Wales är fortfarande entusiastisk. Så, Magnus, tack så mycket. Det här med gubbar i vagn känner jag igen. Är inte det en bok eller? Ja.
Om någon skulle vilja köpa den så kostar den 50 kronor. Gubbar med vagn och andra dikter.
Och det är inte ett soloprojekt, eller hur? Nej, det måste ju...
Det är Mikael Ekström också och jag som gjort en split-pamflett eller chapbok. Det är som en split-singel.
Ja, det tycker jag. Jag vill bara tacka och bara påminna om innan Marisol kommer och avslutar precis som hon inledde den här kvällen. Jag säger bara att Söderköpings poesifestival är snart slut för ikväll. Men imorgon så kör vi igen och Thomas Tidholm gick hem alldeles nyss lite tidigare för han ska ladda för sin diktläsning som börjar festivalens första punkt imorgon på biblioteket. Den är tyvärr fullbokad, säger jag med glädje. För att vi gillar fullbokade evenemang. Och sen så hoppas jag att ni har haft en trevlig kväll och att vi ses imorgon någonstans, någon gång. Så tack så mycket. Men nu lämnar jag ordet till Marisol.
Det här är till dig, Olivia. Heter du så? Ulias. Det är en hälsning från World Pride i Malmö och Köpenhamn. Men det är också till dig, Mats, som bjöd över mig till ditt bord. Och det handlar lite om vad du pratade om tidigare ikväll, Jonas. Om den här, vad ska vi kalla det för? Osynliga övergången mellan sången och det talade ordet. Det här är en dikt skriven av Nils Ferlin som handlar om 1600-talets kanske största svenska poet Lasse Lucidor som blev mördad i Gamla stan i augusti 1674. Och det kan ha gått till så här. På källaren Fimmelstången satt Lasse Lucidor med sina vänner och slöade. Sjung Lucidor, sa vännerna. Och då sjöng Lucidor. Leta efter levande ord, ack möda. Döda, bara döda ord bär jag i mitt hjärtas jord. Leta efter levande ord, ack möda. Det var en bleken visa, sa löjtnant Storm. Ja, svarade Lucidor. Men nu sitter jag på tröstehus och dricker mig ett drus som en dobblare bland dobblare och slinkor. Här finns många runda midjor, här finns många runda krus och imorgon kan vi sova bakom sinkor i finkor. Kom så glömska med din grönska, kom läkedom i vång, alla bostra min sköna Giovanna. För all skönhet vill jag dricka och för sorgen som speglas i din panna. Nej, stanna. Jag har snickrat på en visa, en rätt undersam och fin. Men den är mig som en rebus och en gåta. Den vill dansa som en fjäril, den vill le i melodi. Men i texten vill den bitterligen gråta. Ack gråta. Lucidor är full, den dödansaren. Och föga begriper jag hans visor. Nej, strunt vill jag kalla dem, sa löjtnant Storm. Men hon som sångaren kallat för Giovanna. Hon stampade sin trasiga sko i den hårda golvbeläggningen och utropade: Tig! Din svinabock! Vad har så du med hans visor att göra? Och hon fyllde Lucidors krus och strök honom sakta genom håret. Tack ska ni ha.
Second take.
Second take.